It's Sunday, and I just want to kind of go back and go over my thoughts on the Federal Reserve interest rate cut this week, and where I have no idea how this is going to work out. I don't believe anybody does. What I would say to you is we're going to find out, and we're going to see a lot of books written about this. So I would say buckle up. But there are things that we do know today, and we want to understand what they are and what it means because we're now in the midst of the great change with our Federal Reserve and our Treasury. Now, on this channel, we've done, I think, 4 or 5 videos on Stefan Miran and the Miran paper. Some people call it the Mar-a-Lago Accords. Stefan Miran is an academic, never was in the real world, and he has his paper, which we've gone over, so we're not going to go over it again. But the Federal Reserve, in my over 50 years in the business, has had a dual mandate of price stability and maximum employment. And under Stefan Miran, he says there's a third mandate, and that is to pursue moderate long-term interest rates. Well, this is very interesting, okay, in the sense that we've never had a third mandate. It's never been a mandate for the Fed to control the long-term interest rate. And as everyone knows who follows this channel, is Miran believes strongly that the Treasury and the Fed working together under the Treasury, so they don't believe in Fed independence, is now mandated to drive down the long-term interest rates. And this is probably because we have such a massive debt, and that the interest now on our debt is our biggest spend, superseding defense. And so we know what they're going to try to do. They've told us this. This is why Miran's there. This is why he's trying to fire the other woman, whatever her name is, Cook or Cooper, whatever her name is, all because they want to put in this new third mandate. And the way I would describe this, and I know this is not perfect, but the way I would describe it, we've kind of moving from a monetary policy to a fiscal policy, okay, that our Fed and Treasury are going to follow. And meaning that they're going to have their mandate that they want to pay as less interest as possible to the people who buy our debt, okay? And so it's now kind of a fiscal thing. So then I thought about it, and I was like, is there any countries today that are following this? They don't call it a third mandate, who have adopted the fiscal mandate for their central banks. And there's 2 that come immediately to mind. And the reason that we know that these 2 are doing it is both these 2 countries have much higher inflation rates than where their interest rates are. So you would think if we have X amount of inflation, we raise our interest rates above that and push down inflation, okay? Which is the mandate of most central banks in the world, except for, I think we're going to find there's going to be 3. Well, the first one, as we know, is Turkey. So Turkey's inflation rate is like whatever, 65, 70%. And if you look today or yesterday, they lowered their interest rates down to 3.5% to like 28%. So that gap between what the inflation rate and the interest rates, this is a country managing the fiscal, not the monetary, okay? And the other one is Argentina. And we got the guy, Meliue, whatever his name is, he's flying to Washington this week because basically Argentina is totally bankrupt. They had about $6 billion in reserves. They spent $1 billion in one day supporting the peso, which they have hooked to the dollar. So think about what's going on. They have this high inflation rate, and they have these low interest rates. So what does that do? That puts pressure on your currency. So how do people stop putting the pressure on the currency? They raise their interest rates, and of course they can buy the currency. Now, you don't want to buy the currency if you don't have any foreign exchange to buy your own currency, because you can't print your own to buy your own. It just drives it down even more, okay? So, these guys are running what we would call a fiscal monetary policy, all right? Now, whether it's successful or not, you guys have to make up your own mind. But if you look at the two currencies, so here's the Turkish lira. I just went back 10 years, okay? This goes back further and you'll see that they were way down. But so where it used to take you, let's say it used to exchange $3 to the lira, now it's 41, 42, okay? And so the currency is going down. It takes more lira to buy $1. You know, it went from 3 to 42. That's a currency going down, which, as everyone knows, your currency debasing itself at this speed is highly inflationary. And here's Argentina. You can see back in 20, it probably cost you whatever, 20 pesos, and now it costs you over 1,300 pesos to buy $1. So again, their inflation rate is going to take off. Now, they've been supporting their currency. Think about what I'm telling you. They bought $1 billion worth of their currency, but they don't have any more money. He's flying to Washington to ask Trump for another loan when we just gave them $20 billion and they blew all that. So I don't know what's going to happen there. So this is all happening, and I'm just showing these generally speaking because the West is where the problems are. But if you look, you can see America up there. We've now cut our interest rates 4 times. The last one just happened. We were 3.98 on the 10-year bond. Friday we ended at 4.13, something like that. But when we started to cut, we were basically like 3.50. Okay, so we've done 4 cuts and we're at 4.13. So again, the central banks can control the short interest rates. Central banks lose in the market because we can't control the long rates. And if we try to control the long rates, that usually means we debase our currency. Now you can see here, Japan on Friday did not raise the interest rates again, but they said they may raise them in October. I think that's a ruse myself, and the reason being is they do not have the money, the Japanese yen that they print to buy the yen to save the yen from going any lower, okay? And so what you're faced with in Japan is everyone's watching. What are they going to do? And will the yen go down? And are they going to raise the interest rates in October? Nobody knows. And you look at Switzerland here, they're at actually negative interest rates. By the way, they're the best performing Switzerland currency in the world. Guess what's number 2? Mexico, almost the exact same percent. Because the money around the world is flooding into Mexico, because Mexico is one of the most trained, inexpensive workforces in the world today, if not number 1 by far, okay? So, and you can see up there, look at the UK, they've cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and if you start where they cut and everything, they were basically 4.25, now they're 5.5. This is not a sustainable situation, okay? Also, Japan kind of threw us a curveball that we weren't expecting. Everyone's watching to see if the Japanese debt goes down more, which would cause the yen trade to break. But everyone knows that the BOJ, their central bank, owns 55% of the ETFs, and they own a lot of the property through what they call J-REIT. So the Japanese, as of September 25, they own 537 billion of exchange-rated ETFs, and they announced on Friday that they're going to start selling 2.9 billion a month. And you can see here where the Nikkei Dow went down, right? But here's the interesting thing. All the problems that we have been speaking about forever in Japan, their market's at an all-time high. So what do you think is going to happen to the dollar? Are we going to be New Japan? Are we going to be Argentina? What do you think?